Hey, how are you? In this video, we will be explain the story of Morbius 2022. Morbius is a 2022 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name, produced by Columbia Pictures in association with Marvel, distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing. It is the third film in the Sony's Spider-Man universe SSU, directed by Daniel Espinosa and written by Matt Shazama and Burak Sharpless. It stars Jared Leto as director Michael Morbius alongside Matt Smith, Adria Arjona, Jared Harris, Al Madrigal and Tyrese Gibson. In the film, Morbius and his surrogate brother Milo become living vampires after curing themselves of a rare blood disease. Directed by Daniel Espinosa, written by Matt Shazama, Burak Sharpless, based on Marvel Comics, produced by Avi Arad, Matt Tolmach, Lucas Foster, starring Jared Leto, Matt Smith, Adria Arjona, Jared Harris, Al Madrigal, Tyrese Gibson. Production companies: Columbia Pictures, Marvel Entertainment, Arad Productions, Matt Tolmach Productions. Distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing. Release dates: March 10, 2022, Plaza Carso, April 1, 2022, United States. Running time 104 minutes. Country: United States. Language: English. Budget: 75 to 83 million dollars. Box office: 163.8 million dollars. There were several attempts to bring Morbius to the big screen since 1998, including joining the Blade franchise and having a solo film produced by Artisan Entertainment, neither of which ever came to fruition. After announcing plans for a new shared universe of films inspired by Spider-Man related characters beginning with Venom 2018, Sony began developing a film based on Morbius. Shazama and Sharpless had written a script by November 2017 and Leto and Espinosa officially joined in June 2018. Work on the film began at the end of the year, with further casting ahead of production starting in London. In February 2019, filming was confirmed to have been completed by June 2019, with reshoots happening in Los Angeles the following February. Morbius premiered at the Plaza Carso in Mexico City on March 10, 2022 and was theatrically released in the United States on April 1, 2022 after being delayed several times for an initial July 2020 date, primarily due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The film was a box office bomb, grossing over 163 million worldwide and received largely negative reviews from critics, with criticism towards its writing, visual effects and post-credit scenes. Thuff Smith's performance received some praise. Plot: at a hospital in Greece, 10-year-old Michael Morbius welcomes his surrogate brother Lucian, whom he renames Milo. They bond over their shared blood illness and desire to be normal. Their adoptive father and hospital director Nicholas arranges for Morbius to attend medical school in New York while he focuses on caring for Milo. 25 years later, Morbius publicly declines a Nobel Prize for his work with synthetic blood. His colleague Martin Bancroft discovers he has secretly captured dozens of vampire bats from Costa Rica in the hope of supplementing their genes with his own to cure his condition. After informing Milo of his planned illegal experiment, Morbius receives funding from him to outfit a private mercenary vessel in international waters with his equipment. While the cure works, it transforms Morbius into a vampire who kills and drains the crew of their blood after they attack him out of fear. Once his bloodlust subsides and he regains his senses, a horrified Morbius erases all CCTV footage of his experiment before contacting the authorities and jumping overboard. Morbius returns to New York and discovers he now has superhuman strength, speed, reflexes, and echolocation, with his vampire bats treating him as a bat. To control his bloodlust, he subsists on his synthetic blood until it gradually ceases to satisfy his needs. FBI agents Simon Strode and Al Rodriguez investigate Morbius victims and reduce his involvement. Milo learns that Morbius is cured but becomes furious when Morbius refuses to cure him while checking on a hospitalized Bancroft. Morbius finds a dead nurse drained of her blood. Believing he was responsible, he attempts to escape before being cornered and arrested. In prison, he is visited by Milo, who offers to use his wealth to free him. Upon realizing Milo took his cure and killed the nurse, Morbius escapes to confront him. An unrepentant Milo confesses to his bloodlust-induced crime and urges Morbius to embrace his powers as he has. Unwilling to hurt his brother, Morbius flees. Morbius meets Bancroft to explain what Milo has done before acquiring a new lab and developing an antibody against vampirism to stop and kill Milo. He also plans to use it on himself since he will become unable to resist his bloodlust. Strode and Rodriguez find footage of one of Milo's attacks and, believing Morbius vampirism to be spreading, release it to the media. Nicholas recognizes Milo and pleads with him to stop. Angered by Nicholas' perceived preference for Morbius, Milo wounds and forces him to call Morbius, who watches Nicholas die. While Milo also mortally wounds Bancroft, Morbius returns to Bancroft, but she dies in his arms, forcing him to drink her blood. Morbius confronts Milo and summons an army of bats to restrain him and inject the antibody. Milo dies peacefully and Morbius flies off with the bats, mourning his loved ones and embracing his identity as a vampire, albeit now dealing with the fact he is on the run from the authorities. Unbeknownst to him, Bancroft is revived as a vampire herself elsewhere, having ingested a drop of Morbius blood whilst he was feeding on her. In two mid-credit scenes, Adrian Toomes finds himself transported to Morbius universe, having deduced that his transportation involved Spider-Man. Toomes approaches the fugitive Morbius and suggests that they form a team. Production development. Artisan Entertainment announced a deal with Marvel Entertainment in May 2000 to co-produce, finance and distribute several films based on Marvel Comics characters. The Living Vampire. Previously, the character was set to appear in Blade 1998, portrayed by director Stephen Norrington in a cameo appearance ahead of a large role in a sequel. However, the character was cut from the first film and not introduced in Blade 2 2002 after Norrington chose not to return for that film. In May 2017, Sony announced plans for a new shared universe featuring Spider-Man related properties, beginning the Venom in October 2018. This was later titled Sony's Spider-Man Universe in July. Spider-Man Homecoming 2017. Director John Watts expressed interest in featuring Morbius and Blade in the then untitled Spider-Man Far From Home 2019, believing that the character's dark tone could work well within the Marvel Cinematic Universe (MCU). That November, Matt Shazama and Brock Sharpless submitted a script to Sony for a Morbius film. After a secret development process at the studio, Jared Leto became loosely attached to star in the title role, but would not commit to the film until he was happy with its direction. Leto asked to personally meet with several director candidates. By the end of April 2018, Sony had approached Anthony Fuqua about potentially directing the film. He expressed interest in taking on the project and said that if he was to make a film in the superhero genre, he would want to make it something that's closer to what I get excited about. He ultimately chose not to take on the project. Other directors that Sony approached about the film included F. Gary Gray, who considered directing the film but ultimately turned down the role, and Daniel Espinosa, who previously directed the film Life 2017 for the studio in May while on tour in Germany with his band 30 Seconds to Mars. Leto met with Espinosa to talk about the film and the pair were both confirmed for the project project at the end of June. Avi Arad, Matt Tolmach and Lucas Foster were producing, and filming was expected to begin by the end of 2018. Sony was expected to fit the film into its already set Marvel release slate shortly. Pre-production. By the end of September, Sony was intending for production on the film to take place in Atlanta, Georgia, where Spider-Man Homecoming and Venom were previously produced, but had still not set a release date for the film. Screen Rant's Cooper Hood opined that Sony was likely waiting to see the response to Venom in early October, with Arad confirming at that time that there was excitement at Sony to produce Morbius, especially due to the story of a healer that becomes a killer. And how do you deal with that? Tolmach said the project was very far along at that stage, and they were planning to begin filming in early 2019 with the intention that Morbius would be the second film released as part of Sony's shared universe after Venom. He added that Leto was bringing the same intensity to the film that he had brought to playing the Joker in Suicide Squad 2016. By November, box office analysts believed that Venom had been successfully enough for Sony to move ahead with other films like Morbius, and at the end of that month, the studio dated an untitled Marvel film that was believed to be Morbius for a July 10, 2020 release. Adria Arjona entered negotiations to portray the film's female lead, Martin Bancroft, in December. Her involvement was confirmed a month later when Sony pushed the release date to July 31, and Matt Smith also joined the cast in an undisclosed role. Art Markham and Matt Holloway made uncredited contributions to the film's script. Filming principal photography began during the last week of February 2019 in London under the working title Plasma. Oliver Wood served as cinematographer for the film. With the start of filming, Jared Harris and Tyrese Gibson joined the cast as Morbius' mentor and an FBI agent hunting Morbius respectively. Smith was reported to be portraying the villainous Loxias Crown Hunger Tough. He was later revealed to be playing an original character named Milo, who is similar to Loxias Crown. Harris was revealed to be portraying Dr. Nicholas, a mentor and father figure to both Michael and Milo. In March, filming took place in Manchester's northern quarter, doubling for New York City. A month later, Gibson revealed that he was portraying Simon Strode and that El Madrigal had been cast as his partner, Alberto Rodriguez. At the end of the month, Justin Hayes was believed to have contributed to the film's script. Filming was scheduled to take 12 weeks, and Venom producer Amy Pascal said in June that production had just wrapped on the project. Production also occurred at Pinewood Studios. Post-production in September 2019, Sony announced a new agreement with Disney that extended a previous deal to have Marvel Studios and its president Kevin Feige produce a sequel to Far From Home, keeping Spider-Man in Marvel's shared universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. As part of the new agreement, Feige stated that moving forward, the MCU's Spider-Man would be able to cross cinematic universes and appear in Sony's own shared universe as well. The interaction was said to be a call and answer between the two franchises, as they acknowledged details between the two in what would loosely be described as a shared detailed universe. The film's first trailer, released in January 2020, included a brief appearance by Michael Keaton, reprising his role as Adrian Toomes, Vulture, from the co-produced Marvel Studios Spider-Man film Spider-Man Homecoming. Some of Keaton's scenes had to be reshoot when the events depicted in Spider-Man No Way Home 2021 did not properly coincide with Morbius. Certain moments, such as Morbius walking past a graffiti painting of Spider-Man, were added in the film without Espinosa knowledge, only to be removed in the final film. Reshoots for the film began in Los Angeles by early February 2020 and were finished a month later when film productions around the United States were halted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. At the end of March, the film's release date was pushed back to March 19, 2021, due to the pandemic closing theaters around the world. In January 2021, the film was delayed again, first to October 8, 2021, and then to January 21, 2022, when No Time to Die was moved to the October 2021 date. At the end of January, Leto revealed that additional reshoots were taking place in mid-February. The film's release was moved back another week at the end of April 2021, moving to January 28, 2022. At the start of January 2022, the film was delayed to April 1, 2022 due to the box office success of Spider-Man No Way Home, which Sony hoped would continue throughout early 2022. Later that month, Corey Johnson was revealed to have a role in the film. In March, visual effects supervisor Matthew E. Butler revealed that motion capture technology had been used for Leto to portray Morbius's vampiric form. Espinosa cited Pokemon as an influence on the portrayal of Morbius's powers, specifically singling out the series' use of light and color to depict the title creatures' attacks and abilities. Release theatrical. Morbius had its world premiere at the Plaza Carso in Mexico City on March 10, 2022 and was released in the United States on April 1, 2022 in IMAX and other premium large formats. It was originally set for release on July 10, 2020 before moving 3 weeks later to July 31. The film was then delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, firstly to March 19, 2021, then to October 8, 2021 and then to January 21, 2022 before moving a week later to January 28. It was then delayed again to the April 2022 date. Sony chose not to release the film in Russia due to the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. The negative reception toward the film generated an ironic meme culture surrounding it with praise, which led Sony to re-release into 1,000 theaters on June 3, 2022. This re-release also performed poorly, making just $280,000 over the weekend. Home media. Sony signed deals with Netflix and Disney in April 2021 for the US streaming and TV rights to their 2022 to 2026 film slate. Following the film's theatrical and home media windows, Netflix signed for exclusive first pay window streaming rights, which is typically an 18th month window, and included future Marvel films in Sony's Spider-Man universe. Disney signed for pay to window rights for the films, which would be streamed on Disney Plus and Hulu, as well as broadcast on Disney's linear television networks. Morbius was released on digital download on May 17, 2022 and was released on Blu-ray, DVD and 4K Ultra HD on June 14 by Sony Pictures Home Entertainment. Future. In January 2021, Leto said there was potential for Morbius to appear alongside the character Blade in a future project, with Mahershala Ali cast in that role for the Marvel Cinematic Universe (MCU) that December. In discussing the introduction of the multiverse in Spider-Man No Way Home 2021, Leto said there was potential for further crossovers with his character in future films. Tom Holland expressed interest in seeing his version of Spider-Man from the MCU fighting Morbius in the future, while producers Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal confirmed interest in a potential film starring both Leto and Ali. In March 2022, Leto also expressed interest in a future film featuring Morbius appearing alongside Venom, portrayed by Tom Hardy. During CinemaCon 2022, Sony announced numerous Marvel projects. Some outlets noted that while Venom 3 and Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse 2024 were announced, there was no announcement for a Morbius sequel, leaving the character's future in question.